Hi, you guys. Scooter Braun versus Taylor Swift, part 2.
Dose.
So basically, I think we could kind of tell from the first one that was more Taylor's side of things. And then now we're going to get Scooter Braun's side of things.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do this. Night court.
Do the honors.
I mean, Scooter.
That's you. Okay.
We've turned what is a boardroom deal into the stuff of a fandom war.
Yeah.
And people thinking that social media is the appropriate place to air out on each other and not have conversations. When it gets to a place where there's death threats and
Hang on. After all the shit that he did to her online with like the picture of Justin Bieber and all that bullshit, now he's saying,
I just don't think that this is a good place to do something like that.
Well,
yeah, because it's fucking coming after you now. It doesn't feel so good, does it?
Legally, Scooter had the absolute right to buy this asset. The truth didn't matter. She had the ability to rally her fans.
It wasn't David versus Goliath, it was Goliath versus Goliath.
Very interestingly said, by the way. Goliath versus Goliath.
Right? Yeah, and they're not used to that.
She was creating this victim narrative over something that was more complicated and was a business deal.
It's definitely...
It's definitely Scooter friendly.
Fuck,
For
yeah.
sure.
They just oversimplified everything.
Well, it's
and
not
were
that
like,
it's simplified.
He was
It's
this great manager.
they're trying to make him. They're trying to show very much the more human side of Scooter. I think. You know, and yeah, there might have been maybe a level of like, oh man, this hurts my ego or whatever. But when you're talking about the thing that I always go to is the fact that this guy was making hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And the main thing I think he was worried about was just simply his reputation, not anything else.
Yeah.
We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. We're talking about the catalog of one of the most beloved artists in the world. There was a lot at stake.
And I feel like also her calling on her fans makes sense because this is during a time that he had all the power. They weren't used to an artist having this much power because of her fan base. So they can do whatever the fuck they want. They want the records, they're mine. They can do whatever they want. And she's standing up and saying, oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's change the playing field. We're gonna play on my home base now. And I don't think they were used to that.
If you take Scooter's side, it's about someone weaponizing their fan base, their ability to make themselves out to be a victim.
Scooter's management style was to be the big brother to his main artists, and I think that comes through. Scooter was born in 1981, and he grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, perhaps the greatest bastion of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant America.
Shit.
Ever were Jewish Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
And it's clear to anyone who's spent time with him or even just seen his social media that his family and their history were very important to him.
A multicultural society is essential for human rights to survive.
Scooter was making a film about his family's Holocaust experiences.
Certain family members aren't here. What happened to us?
That would be a trip.
Right?
And I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a part of it. I think what I ended up doing as a job was helping people go after their dreams.
Seemingly based on his ability to throw a party. And he made him head of marketing at Dupree's label So So Def.
How is he already connected to all of this?
I don't know. How did he get those people to his party?
Well, was it, I mean, I don't think it was his parties. I think he went to those parties.
No, I think he was just saying that he would throw these parties.
How is he already connected to all of this?
I don't know. I feel like we just
There's
jumped.
a big gap here.
And when I saw him the first time, I always knew we would get here. And I think now that he's 18 and becoming a man, you know, how good of a man, how he carries himself will define how far he goes, because his talent, you know, is endless.
I gotta say, sorry, what Scooter just said there does ring a bell for me. Like, not and not in a bad way. That didn't sound like a manager.
No.
That didn't sound like even scripted or something of this nature. It's still kind of generalized, but it didn't sound like your normal manager, like sky's the limit. It basically just does a bunch of like blow-ups about the kid.
Yeah.
You know, just saying, oh my God, this guy's the greatest,
Yeah,
the
he's
best
number
singer
one.
ever. He's gonna grow up to be the next Michael Jackson or whatever.
Yeah.
Like usually you kind of see it more like that, or you don't see him at all. They just hang out in the background.
Yeah.
This actually did sound a little bit more sincere.
Yeah.
I will admit that.
Yeah, we're definitely painting that picture.
Yeah.
Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun. Borchetta for basically selling her work out from underneath her. and Scooter for
Wait, hang on.
buying.
This is what happens when you sign a deal at 15 to someone for whom the term loyalty is clearly just a contractual concept. My thing on this is that she was 15 when she signed it, but she had to have parents there too. The storyline of I didn't know because I was 15, for me just feels like it's slightly adjusted. It gives a feeling like it was a minor that signed it who was young and didn't know any better. And it's like, but you also had parents. So there are, if that is true, then there are parents that are at fault on this too. It's not just someone big machine taking advantage of innocent 15-year-old.
The pop star speaking out after a top manager brought the rights to her music, and she is not happy about it.
So from his point of view, I'm sure he's confused why he got into hot water.
I don't think she's been fully honest about why she feels so strongly about Scooter Braun.
Taylor?
Okay, are they gonna explain that then?
I hope they
Yeah.
I mean, because that's, I think, a huge key part.
Right?
I'm just so grateful that I got the right one and that I'm with people that I believe in and that they believe in me.
Just jubilantly about how happy she is to be with Scott, be at that record label.
Her credentials were author and academic. Who is she, this lady that we're gonna listen to? I'm gonna be a little critical about her opinion. I'm sorry, but.
Taylor owns the rights to the lyrics and the music,
Okay.
and the record company owns the rights to the original recording. This is standard in most recording agreements.
Okay. So therein lies how she's able to re-record them after.
Yeah.
She kind of says, you know, you girls were busy not inviting me to things, going to parties while I've just used my first paycheck to buy the car that Regina George drives in Mean Girls.
Oh my gosh.
She might have moral objections, but those unfortunately, don't always count in the court of law.
I will say it's interesting, the one person she was in the first side. It's interesting to see her talk, how some of these folks that were in the Taylor side of
Yeah.
it, bring it over to this discussion where now it sounds very different, the tone.
Yeah.
You know, and therein lies my hope that this is more on the account of trying to tell the truth on either side. Because you literally have one person, I can't remember her name, in the Taylor side, she even in this is still explaining Taylor's side.
Yeah.
But when she seems to she also explains some truths about that, you know, like where she's not above holding a grudge,
Mhm.
she's not above keeping score, all these other things. So it seems that helps me, at least it gives me hope that this is trying to be just
Middle
honest
ground.
on either side.
Yeah.
Taylor says that she became aware of the deal at the same time as the rest of the world, and that's one of the key things that upset her.
Scott Pachetta denies Taylor's version of events, saying, you know, it's time for some truth.
Oh, really?
And he attaches the documents and the evidence to prove it.
Wait, it said it was the last offer for her to remain, meaning as she'd have to stay on their label. I'm backing up.
I'm attaching a few very important deal points in what was part of our official last offer to Taylor Swift to remain at Big Machine Records. As you will read, 100% of all Taylor Swift assets were to be transferred to her immediately upon signing the new agreement.
Is this, though, the agreement that they were like, you can get your one master back for each
Album per
album,
album.
which was a fucked up deal.
Which is interesting. I mean, they may still say that,
But I wonder
by
if-
not saying that, that's a key factor.
Yeah.
That's a key factor. So
Good.
But yeah, let's maybe wait for them because hopefully they're about to go over the details of the deal.
I actually said to that group, at any point, if she comes back and wants to be part of this conversation, please let me know because I wouldn't do this deal. Where she stated that she had decided to move on from that negotiation and wasn't interested in doing that deal anymore.
For whatever reason, it didn't happen. So it went on an open market, and the studio found
For
Scooter
whatever
to be the
reason.
worthy buyer.
Are they really not?
They're not.
Are they really, like, seriously, if that's the situation where you don't explain that their counter offer, their offer to keep her on the label was to make her fucking go trade for trade. You make one album, we'll give you one album. Like, that's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
If that's,
and
like,
I don't
please
think
help
they're
me.
gonna
Like,
show
please, in the comments, if they don't show it during this, like, help me out. If that's the deal that she is turning down, that is a key fucking factor in this argument right there.
And that makes me feel really swayed.
That's, I mean, I was already kind of biased towards Taylor, but like, okay, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
If
she turned down a shitty offer.
They're trying to say that she's claiming that she was never given an offer at all.
Well, yeah, so then they're trying to make her out to look like
She's lying. That is not buying your albums.
There's also another factor that I didn't mention because I thought that they were going to start going into it, but they never explained why Taylor didn't like Scooter.
Yeah.
There was like a whole direction that this was going to go in order to explain why I thought anyway.
Yeah.
It sounded as if they were about to explain.
But they never did.
Why Taylor didn't like Scooter in the first place. And it's like, wait, you just kind of breezed and went right, but huh? Mm-hmm. And now we're into like, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it already. I don't like it. Uh-huh.
Okay. That was a question we had.
What was less reported at the time, which meant that Taylor's dad was also involved in the running of Big Machine as a minority shareholder.
Yeah, but that's only 3%. That's not as much as I thought.
Revealed that Scott Swift made $15.1 million when Big Machine was sold to Scooter Braun.
Oh, shit.
See, this is what I was talking about in the first one. I was like, dude, you know, something else is there. Something else is there.
15.1 million when it was sold.
How could it be possible that Taylor didn't know what was happening when her father was a shareholder of Big Machine?
And in case you are actually watching this on YouTube, this video is 2 hours long. Now on YouTube, you only get the highlights, you only get the little sweet spots. So if you want to watch the entire thing unedited, then you need to come on over to my Patreon. On Patreon, I have tons of Taylor Swift documentaries, which I'm sure a list will go by. I have album reactions, and we have far more collabs and things going into together, which we're doing more together.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're wanting to learn something a little bit more deeper about these musicians and singers and performers, you can go ahead and go to my channel where I'll be deep diving into things like addiction, other mental disorders, and things of this nature that people are either going through now or are suffering or have recovered from. And we'll be going down that particular rabbit hole. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And we'll be sure to link his Patreon down below.
Deadly Bananas, yo.
Scott chose not to be on certain phone calls, and so he'd never have to lie to his daughter.
Okay, interesting.
She was given a leg up in many ways. Like, she's a very talented songwriter, but there are tons and tons of talented songwriters all over the world. Not all of them will have a dad who works in banking and has the kind of financial clout to be able to move all the way across the country to Nashville just to make sure that they can support their kid's career.
She has a valid point.
That is very fucking valid. Very valid. And I don't think that speaks at all to the character, but it also has, I think, kind of little to do with this, with what's going down.
That was what I was actually also thinking of, like, okay, well, maybe we're trying to now portray Taylor Swift under a different light.
It seems as if that's why it's there. Like, I get where that might be an argument, but it really has little to do with this. However, the father being a part of the deal and not talking to her and all that stuff.
But it just said that he had signed an NDA, so he would be contractual obligated to not. He said that he wouldn't do certain meetings or say certain things to her, so it wouldn't conflict in their relationship.
That we're really reflecting the working class issues and problems.
Who is this chick?
And why are they running with this?
I
Who
don't
gives
know.
a shit?
What does this have to do with?
What does it have to do with
painting the picture? And I don't like that they have a chick being interviewed that, why her? What is...
You knew about this deal. You knew what you were walking away from. So please stop lying.
But they're still not saying what the deal was, because it was a shitty deal.
You had Kelly Clarkson tweeting Taylor, like, hey, maybe re-record your music. You had Halsey saying that Taylor's the artist that made me want to be a songwriter. How can she not own her work? And it was a really interesting time because it really took on a world of its own.
She could have really used it to truthfully, authentically be celebrating women and being humble that she, at such a young age, is being even given this award and honor. But instead, she used it again to throw a bomb at her enemy. So she uses the word consent. And this is at the height of the Me Too era.
That point to certain themes coming up again and again in order to create a narrative that I am the wronged party and someone is trying to hurt me.
But at the same time, a lot of her music is also about being in love, falling for someone, and that. It's not just about breakups, and this is such bullshit, because it was like the whole narrative that we've now gone into, like, okay, we're not fucking doing that anymore, was where she couldn't sleep with anybody because then she was a slut or she was the demonizer, but then all the other men of that era could do it just fine and they could write full albums. It's just
other than the TTPD album, which seemed like it was literally meant to be a breakup album.
Yeah, it was.
And as someone who was not a Swiftie, it came off that way very much. I have never thought of that on any of her other albums. Literally any of her other albums.
Yeah.
I have never gotten the sense that she's writing too much about guys or breakups or dating or whatever. Like, it seemed to be about the same amount as every other album you can fucking get out there. Like, even rock songs that don't come off as a love song are still love songs, you know? Like, it doesn't, this is just her medium at this point. What the fuck is the difference? And I've heard songs up and down about, like, you know, throughout our entire career, ever since we've been dating. I have never gotten that sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it's in bad taste for them to bring up this narrative, because this is something that people have gone back now and been like, this is not cool and we did not treat her right and we're sorry. And then now that's what they're fucking bringing up.
Really interesting time was Taylor Swift's feud with Katy Perry, because that was almost like the first time she had an issue with a woman in the industry.
This is so dumb, because this whole thing was such bullshit and so set up, and it was so the era of pinning female artists against each other over.
I don't even know anything.
Famous celebs, creates the Bad Blood video with all her superstar besties.
I don't think Bad Blood was actually about Katy Perry directly. I believe it was towards the media, if I'm correct.
I have
These
no
are
idea.
bringing her women together to support her against media and how they're building this narrative.
Just almost to me seemed like it was encouraging a violence towards people that you do not get on with, whether it's a violence in words like bullying or it's an actual physical violence with guns and blood.
Okay, I don't like her. They had guns.
It felt like a very strong way to react. It had an impact on Katy's career.
I would say that when Taylor starts being able to use narrative to her advantage, really comes into play with Kanye and the VMAs.
There is a possibility that I might dive into a Kanye rabbit hole. There's a possibility. Somebody in my Patreon brought up that it would be maybe worth it to at least kind of see the career span and the evolution of Kanye, because there is supposed to be things about like some mental issues and all of this other stuff, things I don't know about. And definitely what Kanye has done specifically, not specifically actually, it was starting to be before this.
Yeah.
But this was kind of a breaking factor when he just kind of entered that you're a dickhead realm in my mind. You know, this was definitely the pushing point, I think.
Kim Kardashian leaks a phone recording between Kanye and Taylor Swift, in which it does appear that Kanye tells Taylor, and Taylor seems to be okay with it.
No. What the?
Wait, they're about to go down. Don't.
I feel like Taylor Swift might owe me sex.
That's not mean.
That was not the line, though. That was not the line. Okay.
Not only does he not say the line that was actually used in the rap song, but the key factor was like, I made that bitch famous. Like you didn't continue on to what you were going to actually say. Like, I mean,
which was the repeated part in the song. That's a very different line.
That's point number 5 on this thing.
Please, will you go out with me? Like, he looks so scared and so timid.
That is so, everything she said there, I can't stand her.
Taylor's feud with Kanye has played a large part in why she's so upset about Scooter. I have often wondered if he hadn't been a manager for Kanye, would she have been as upset?
Is that why she doesn't like Scooter?
Yeah, and all the shit that he posted about her on social
Well,
media.
it sounded as if there was a longer beef than just ever since Kanye. I thought it made it sound like it was heading back into like earlier in her career or something.
I don't know.
So.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
You didn't know about that? Oh, it's gnarly.
We can now represent through this as a worldwide community that we will be ready, we will be fearless, we will be great, and we will honor our children.
I think it's funny how you started this off like very even.
Now I'm angry. Now I feel like I'm being manipulated, and when I feel like the video is trying to manipulate my emotions, I get extremely defensive, on guard, and analytical like a motherfucker. And then I'm like,
you can tell she's actively frustrated.
I'm actively frustrated.
It very much sounded like you were more favoring the contractual side.
I was.
Now you're like, fuck you, like fuck.
Yeah, because they're trying to evoke an emotion in me, but it's through manipulation. It's not through truth, and I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Believe that what she has done is kind of a disservice to unknown artists out there, because it would be this much harder now to persuade the studios to take the chance and make all this investment.
Boo-hoo, I kind of want to say. Oh, stop millionaires from making more millions? Boo-hoo. Like, fuck off.
I know.
I'm sorry, I keep bringing that up, but it's like small violin time for you. Like, oh, you don't want to take a risk on somebody who technically kind of paid her way into the door and has earned her stance since. You know, like her dad may have may have made it so that she had all of the things she needed to become who she is today, but the rest of it was work. The rest of it was her working her ass off, writing songs on a regular basis and doing shows now like on a constant. Yeah. So it's like, boo-hoo.
Big Machine then post a follow-up to say, we don't have the right to tell you not to perform those songs.
Okay.
Again, people are starting to think, what is Taylor fudging here? What is the truth of the matter?
What was the truth of that matter? Do you remember? Didn't they say that she couldn't when we saw the first one? But then she ended up doing it. So we're like, why was she able to do it when they said that she couldn't? Remember, we weren't sure about that.
Maybe they'll talk about it.
Swifties and the Taylor Swift fans are probably one of the most powerful constituencies on earth.
When the hashtag I stand with Taylor was trending, there were Swifties saying, let's go to his house and cut his neck in half.
His neck? No, we cutting his dick so he loses his man ego. Okay, I'm here.
Scooter actually did say, some of your fans are threatening the lives of my children. Can you call them off? And she never did.
But at the same time, didn't he call shit onto her though, early on? He just doesn't have the same fan base that she has. So she's like, fuck it. You have this money, you have this power. Well, I have power too. See how it fucking feels to have the rug pulled out from underneath you.
The only thing I would say maybe to that, because I'm not sure if he did what she's doing in terms of.
Well, he doesn't have the power that she has.
But she's also the thing that's making him money. So it would not be in his best interests. Maybe even at the time that wasn't the case. Yeah, I mean, really, at that point, it's this is more about the fandom than I was thinking.
Oh, by Disney. Are they not going to mention that he gets money?
She posted on Twitter saying that had conversations about buying the masters, but that Scooter would only sell them to her if she signed a non-disclosure agreement guaranteeing that she would not criticize him publicly, which she did not want to do.
Where is this deal where, no, that had to have been the deal, the whole album for album thing.
No.
That had to have been the deal before, not the Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where Scooter Braun sold them, but he still profits off of it. And she's saying that she did get the opportunity to buy them, but in exchange, she couldn't say a single bad thing about him.
You need to be able to sit in front of someone and have dialogue. And what you can't do is say that you want something and then never ever sit down at the table to have an actual dialogue.
I think probably by that point, she was like, fuck it, I'm gonna re-record them. My fans are behind me, you can fuck off now. Little, too late.
What the impact of this whole feud has been on his reputation in the music industry is that he's now kind of been tarnished reputationally from this scrap with Taylor.
Oh, good.
Thanks for the news.
On from the saga and has turned what started out as an extremely painful situation into one of the most fulfilling creative endeavors of her life. None of these men will ever be able to take anything away from Taylor's legacy as a songwriter, singer, director, philanthropist, and advocate for artists' rights. Wow.
They did another
Right?
tearing of the picture breakup thing.
I kind of stand where I stood before, but now I'm just more angry. The fact that there was a contract, she did sign it, it is what it is, you know? And then at the same time, it wasn't in the contract that she couldn't re-record them. She was totally able to do that. It said it was her contract plus 2 years. She waited, she re-recorded, so there she is also saying, I'm following the contract then. That's what the contract said, that's what the contract I did, you know? And I'm sure they made plenty of money during that time, you know? And so if we're going by contract to contract and whatnot, she followed contract, they followed contract.
If you're going straight on legalities and the contracts and all of that stuff, everything was fine.
Yeah. Well, so that's how we feel about this whole thing. You guys were talking about
least for now.
another documentary that we should check out, and I guess it's on YouTube or something like that. It's more of a factual information thing, which we might have to check out.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.